So this is quite a recent purchase. This is the DC Concepts Alpha meter. Now you may have seen these before on people's layouts, and essentially it's for DCC, and it'll show the voltage, it shows the ampage that's used, but that's all people are really using it for. And this does so much more. If you actually look here, it says it accurately measures volts and amps on DC, AC and DCC layouts. Now, as you know, I use all of these. I use DC for the small layout when I want. I can put it onto DCC if I want. AC I use for my point motors. I may use my AC lines to create a DC line using a bridge rectifier. If I want a particular voltage, or I want to do something a little bit different. You know, there's lots of options. And what this will do is it'll tell me what ampage I'm pulling, and it may diagnose one or two problems. You know, if I've got a loco and I'm running it at DC and the amps are quite high, usually that could mean the loco just needs a service. It needs a clean, needs an oil, what have you, and then the ampage will probably run a little less. And you know, these things can all help you diagnose faults. I don't know if that works in DCC or not, to be fair, but it has been pointed out it does work in DC. You can notice a different ampage being pulled. So what am I going to do with this? Well, I want to be able to use it for different projects. Essentially, you've got your meter on this side. On here is the circuit board, and you have an input side and an output side, and you have these green plugs that plug in, and they will connect to the relevant wires that you actually plug in through your meter. Well, you know me, I like to be a little bit different. I'm going to do this job properly. It can be used for the layout, and it's also going to be a diagnostic tool. It's something I can use on the workbench when messing around with my locos, seeing if I've got any faults. So what am I going to do? I'm going to put it in a box, and this is the box I've got. This is what you call a plastic ABS enclosure, and the size I'm using, this is 150 by 100 by 55 mil. So essentially we've got 150 across, we've got 100 down, 55 mil deep. So we've got plenty of clearance at the bottom there, and as you can see, that will fit in nicely there. So I'm going to have to get to cutting. I'm going to have to cut the holes out, mount the screws, and we'll see how we get on with that. Now then, one useful little thing is you can get on the website, on DCC Concepts, you can download these templates. So what have I done? Well, this is sticky back. It's just a big label. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this out, stick it on there, then we'll do all the cutting. Now I don't want to stick this label directly onto this box, so just to make life a little bit easier, I'm just going to put some old masking tape over the section, stick the label on, then I can get in there with my knife, we can do the holes, we can cut the hole, and we'll get it going. Now this box, it's a box of 2 halves obviously, so we've got the big deep part, and we've got the lid. There's obviously the screws for the box as well. Well, I'm going to put it on the thicker side so that I mount it in, and it mounts into the thicker side. I've still got plenty of room to play with. So that's what I'm going to do, that's what I'm going to crack on with. So we'll catch you later. as you've seen, this now fits, goes in there. I've got some M3 countersunk bolts. They should go in like that. So what's there to do now? Take the masking tape off. Let's bolt this thing into the box. Right, before I stick this in, I'm going to need to make a hole for my cables and things. So, what am I going to use for my cable? That's a very, very good question. Right then, as you know, I use these for a lot of the wiring on my layout. They're what they use for the CCTV. It's the connectors, the 2.1mm jacks. Obviously you've got a male and a female there. Well, this is going to be a little bit more permanent. So my plans for this one are, on the input I have one of them, one of them. So that will be my input. That will have probably a metre length cable coming out the side, and that'll be my output. And this essentially will plug into the layout like that. So as you can see, these actually fit. I've got the male version here, and that fits into there. All I need to ensure is the positive side goes to the right side on this one, which then in turn goes to that on there. So essentially I need to make a hole for this in the side here, and I just need a hole on the other side just to let the cable through, and that in turn will be wired to one of these. So that's my next job then, before I can actually bolt this thing in. So I'll crack on with that next, and we'll see how we get on. Right, I've got the hole cut out for the input, which will be that. All I've done is I've cut a hole, tiny hole on the outside for the cable, so it doesn't pull through. I've just sort of tied in a knot at the back. What I'll do then is I will put a cable tie there, and there's no way that's coming out. As you can see, that is wired to the green connector. So let me get this right. So essentially that will fit in there like so. That will just plug into there. So the other side, not so easy. Plug is there, but if you look here, that is so close. So what I'm going to have to do is just make sure that my wires come up a little bit and loop round. All I've done, I've just got a little bit of wire there, and that's just enough to loop through. So hopefully we'll get in on track. Right then, as you can see, the box is now finished. I've got the wires for the input, wires for the output, and as I said before, I felt this was a bit close to that previously, and I've made a little sort of washer thing really. I've put a little bit of a plastic insert. It just takes it out about 3mm. So that's my socket to go in. My lead, obviously, all wired in here, and I've done a very long lead on this. This is probably, what, 2 meters long. It just goes on and on and on, as you can see. And that's it. It's all in the box. For that, it's actually just a base of a wargaming figure. Something like one of these. And you can actually get these without the slots. And I basically just got one of those. And that just gives me a little bit more space for when I do my wiring. All the heat shrink is in place, it's all bolted into place. Happy days. Now then, another thing I've actually done is the back of it. And what I've done for the back is I put some holes in it, just like you get in the 4-gangs. The idea is I can put a couple of screws on the side of the layout, and I can just slap it on. So basically That's screwed up, and that will just slot into place. So there you go, that's finished. So we'll go over to layout now, and we're going to see it in its different modes. So we'll do the DCC first, then we'll go into DC, and I'll show you one or two things about that, and we'll have a little talk about that actually, because it wasn't as I expected. And then we'll have a look at the AC as well. So we'll catch you over there, guys. See you at the layout. So this is the controller in DCC mode. As you can see, got my alpha meter there. We'll start my train off, and you will see the voltage change, you will see the ampage change. We'll start it off, and as you can see, 0.0346, and you'll notice the ampage keeps going up, and it'll fluctuate and it'll go down. That's because there's a slight incline on the board. Well, that's actually DCC mode. I'm sure you've seen this on many other people's layouts, and it is used for DCC. So I'll wire it up in DC, we'll put a different loco on, and we'll see what that happens with that one. Right then, this is DC mode. Now you'll notice there's actually no power to the display at the minute, and there won't be until I actually turn the dial on my controller. So we'll do that, and you'll notice it comes to life. Again, it shows the voltage it's pulling, it shows the ampage it's pulling, and for those that are eagle-eyed, above the display it's now got a green light, and that's actually indicating that it's actually in DC mode. So as you can see, works quite nicely. It shows what ampage I'm pulling. Here comes the loco. She's a bit cold at the minute. Now then, I'll turn it off. I'm going to change the direction of the train. Now look what happens here, guys. Train's moving, display doesn't work. Now the reason for that is because on the board it has a plus and a negative in and a plus and a negative out. So obviously when the DC polarity is in the correct direction, the board works. Now then, you switch the polarity, obviously it doesn't work anymore, because I'm now feeding a negative into a positive and a positive into a negative. But I have got a cunning plan for that. And what I'm going to do is, I'm going to put a switch on the side, and essentially if I put the switch after the alpha meter, I can switch polarities on the track. It'll make the train go the opposite way, and it will also show on the display. Now I'm not going to do this because I want to do this essentially for when I'm actually testing trains out, so I can see what ampage it's pulling both ways. But I will show you a circuit diagram of what I'm going to do. Right then, so this is my plan for actually changing the polarity, so I can actually still read the meter in DC and obviously send the train the opposite way. So what we've got is, you've got your alpha meter, that's your board, and you've got your track, you've got your red track coming in, and you got your black coming in. So what you would do, this is a double pole double throw switch. It has 6 pins underneath. So the minus on the board, that's the meter, comes out, and we're going to put that into 2. And then on obviously the positive side, that goes into 1. Right, 3 and 4 is what's going to go to my track. So they're the cables to your track 3 and 4. Now then, what I need to do is, I need to actually connect the black up to pin 5. And in turn, I am going to put the red and I'm going to jump that straight across to pin 6. So what I've actually done now is, you can see that the black and the red are on the opposite sides. So what happens is, say that's my switch, when it goes down, that will connect to 3, which goes to your track. That connects to 4, which goes to track. And if the switch is up, it is suddenly the red and the black there, that goes to my track. And what that does is, that means it reverses the polarity on pins 3 and 4. So essentially I've got pin 1 going to 6, and I've got pin 2 going to pin 5, and 3 is track, and 4 is track. And that is essentially how you switch the polarities of the wires to your track. Now obviously I'm only doing this because I want to be able to read the meter when I change the direction of the train. And essentially you don't change the direction of the train on the controller. I'm changing the direction for the polarity of this switch. And this is purely so that when I'm actually at the test bench, I'm reading the ampage of a motor running in one direction. It may have a different ampage running the other way, which means there may be something binding, there could be a split gear. It's indication it needs a service, it needs a repair. So that is actually going to be my future plans, what I'm going to add to my unit. Right, this is actually in AC mode now. This is just the 16 volt AC output of my controller. As you can see, the actual meter is showing 16.14 volts, 0.01 amps. Now this is just to a point motor, so I'm going to flick this. What's the ampage change? Again, go the other way. And that's it pulsing. If you also notice there, when I'm going one way, it's nearly touching 1 amp. When I go the other way, it's not going quite so high. That probably means that point motor's not aligned properly underneath the point to its optimum range. But there you go, that's 16 volts AC. So as you can see guys, I couldn't help myself, I had to finish it off to the end. And there's the switch on the side. So let's see the switch in action, shall we? So I'm going to turn the controller on, back in DC, and there we go. So it's running that way, that's fine. Now then, if I flick this switch and I turn my controller again, it will now show the display the other way as well. I'm not turning the direction on the controller, I'm making sure that it goes the same direction on the controller. I'm changing the direction via this switch. So there you go, that's going to be a brilliant piece of test equipment for me. Hopefully it's giving you another idea, a bit more use out of it than just DCC. Here she comes again. And there we go. So I hope you enjoyed that guys, and we'll catch you on the next one. Bye for now.